Morning, folks. This is Kent at KJS Painting and Renovations, and this is how I put in a window. Here are one of these old metal crank windows. It's a single pane, and there was complaints of mold, and instead of painting this, the property owner thought they would just replace it. I don't want to make any big adjustments to the frame or do any carpentry on the inside. I want to keep all of this. So what I do, I just make a measurement from here up to here. The inside measurement, I take that, and then a measurement from here over to here, those two measurements, and I just order a window that's a ½ an inch smaller. So I went to Home Depot and ordered a no flange Milgard vinyl window with two sliders. There's one that slides here and there, and it comes with the screens. And so what I want to do is take off this piece and this top piece and then this piece here, leaving the sill and the little apron. So we want to remove the top piece and the two side pieces, so it's pretty simple. I want to cut the caulking like so. Doing that on the inside as well. We want to cut the caulking down here. Just everywhere, because just imagine this piece coming off. You want to take it off. That's good to cut here. This piece, we don't want to hurt this one. We're going to leave that, but this is going to come off. So cut there and then cut down inside here. Want to cut along here as well. You'd be surprised how well caulking and paint holds carpentry together. So do your best to really remove that caulking. See, it will start to come up, and then the nail will pop out there. And then I just work my way up with the tool, trying not to break this piece. As it starts to come out, I turn the tool this way, kind of work up, try to pry right next to the nails. Sometimes I use a little bouncing motion. That can help. Now the piece is off. We'll save this piece here. Same procedure at the top, just open it up bit by bit. Just work your way along. Idea is to take this off without breaking it. It comes off in one piece. And there it is. Be careful with the nails. You can just leave those in there. We might use those putting it back on here. Okay, look out for those nails. Okay, walking back into the house now. If you look here, that little bump, that's a screw that's covered in paint. One of my favorite tools to use is one of these. It's a spring-loaded punch, but it works great for breaking loose paint. Take the screwdriver to clear the slot on the screw, like so. Okay, that one's out. Here's another one like right here. I like to take this. It doesn't really matter what side the tool you take, but just go at it. Use eye protection too. So it just kind of easily obliterates. Now I use the pointy part. There we go, knock out the trough and the straight slot. Alright, now this screw is out. Yeah. Okay, the screws that are up a little higher are in better shape, not quite as rusty. There's more water down there, so as we go up to get that one, they seem to be in better shape. Yes, this one's in much better shape. And so that's up about 3 inches. So if we go over to this side of the window, we go up about 3 inches. This window doesn't open, so I'm going to have to go outside and chip away some of the glazing, because behind the glazing, I believe there's going to be another screw. So we'll have to go outside and chip away at the glazing on that side. Okay, we see there's a screw here, so most likely will be one behind the glazing here. So with this tool, I don't want to hit it with the chisel, I'll break the glass, but with this tool I start maybe at the pointy side, start removing the glazing. Should be a screw behind there. After a bit, the glazing starts to come out easier, and I like to whack the screw a couple times just to loosen it up. Sometimes it doesn't want to go, so I'll grab the screwdriver with a pair of pliers and see. There we go. Alternatively, you could use a small chisel and a small hammer. Start a little bit away from the glass. Something like that. You get the idea. In some instances where the screw is actually, the head of it is under the glass, it might be quicker just to zip this off with an angle grinder and then take a punch and set the screw in a little bit so the window can come out. So you can see the head of the screw is ground off, and I will take a punch and set that screw in the wood down below so that it won't be in the way of the window coming out. Use a smaller hammer so as not to bang too much. Sometimes you get lucky and the glazing comes off in one piece, and there's not even a fastener in there. I guess because it was so close they decided not to. I think I'll still check over here in case they did put one in. Here's another one where there was not a mount used. But you can bet they used them up top. Well, there's one right here. So now all of the screws that are holding this on have been removed or ground off or unscrewed, taken out. The glue, there's glue in there. So just bit by bit, try to take it off quickly, it's not going to work. You really got to take your time, go around the entire perimeter of the window, breaking loose this adhesive. Okay, the window's starting to get rocked out quite a bit more. And this paper, we don't want to hurt the paper. This little bit of drip rail at the top will start to come out. It's not real tight. So now the window is ready just to rock out of here. All right, piece of cake. So I give this paper a little trim. See, I've trimmed this, so we want a nice clean edge, so then we'll continue to trim all this ragged stuff off. Okay, you want to clean up this opening, removing the paint. Here's our new window. Okay, I marked the B and A. So if you open these up and just lift them up, they will lift right out of here. Oh, bingo. Okay, that's gonna work. I start on the sides, just getting it so that it's back and forth inside the frame evenly. I want this surface of the window to be even with this surface on the house over here, so that when the trim piece goes on, it will be resting on the siding and resting on just half of that edge. Back inside now. So we want this space to be even with this space. And same down here, the space on the bottom, we want to be even with, that's a bit of hard light, the space on the bottom, we want to be even with the space on the top, and there's a bit more on the top. Using a level, adjust the shims so that the window is level. It's the same gap top and bottom, and you could use another level over here to adjust to get that level on both sides. Back outside, the window is centered, just about ready to be screwed in. So we want to also check that they're square. And I can see up here at this middle piece, right here, this one, the window's bowed out a bit. So we can make an adjustment on that. Adjust the shims a little bit so that now it's going to pull this part this way. Check it with the square until it's nice and square. Then go over to this side, check for square, adjust the shims if necessary. When I measured this window opening, I took the smallest dimension, and then when I ordered the window, I made the window a ½ an inch smaller. Here's another trick. I took a little piece of quarter round that I'm going to use to finish this off. And I cut a tiny piece and I can fit this in. And this will also help me make sure the window is positioned right in the center of this opening. This piece in the bottom comes out relatively easily, so I just take something like this and there we go. So once that's up, this can come out of here. So here's the tapered drill bit that will drill and chamfer. I got my Makita here. I'm back outside, so I'm sporting the sombrero again. Take the level and just bump the window in, and then go up. And see, it needs to be bumped in quite a bit up here. Quite a bit. There we go. So now these are on the same plane. Also, I realized here's the trim piece that came off, and you know, that's not going to work so well. So we're not going to use this. Instead, what I did was get a piece of redwood that's the same thickness, you know, as this here, you know, so that's the same. And so that's going to go on like so. We're going to drill and chamfer at the same time. So these screws are really nice because they're fluted at the end. They're sort of self-drilling, and I got my driver here. And you put these in lightly. It's probably best to start from the center and work your way out. Okay, check again to make sure the window is correct with the edge of the house. By taking the piece here, and that looks good. nice and flush. So when you're done, the window should be even with the edge of the house, and it should be plumb. I chose a piece of lumber that's the same thickness as the existing trim on the house, so it will match, and I chose redwood because it's outside. Just kind of go at it, just like so. Well, the universe is working correctly because I managed to get this whole thing in one can. I'm going to use the oscillating multi-tool to cut up under here. Okay, so we got all these little shims. They've been cut. Okay, so we got the little shims removed. I'm going to cut this top piece of trim at 75 1/8. Our new piece fits nice under here. It's right in the middle of the window. That's the way we want it. Roll out a section of paper just slightly longer than what you need, and just cut it with a pair of scissors. With paper, you start at the bottom and work your way to the top. The idea is any water that can get into the building will shed outward and away from the building. So you take your new paper and you stick it under the existing paper. So I got this side done now, and there's going to be caulking from this paper to that, caulking over to here, and on top I've got the paper slipped under, and so we'll do caulking here to here and then some caulking along this edge. Okay, do use gloves when using this stuff, folks. So kind of get some of this behind the paper, go up. So this is what it looks like when it's done. I've got the polyurethane caulking on the window and the papers fused together. Here's what the top looks like. It's okay if it's a little messy inside here, but try to keep the window itself clean. It's important when nailing to use a galvanized finish nail. I have an 1.5 inch galvanized finish nail. Here's our sample trim, and so 1.5 inches will be a good length to choose for this project. I made a mark on the siding here, so this is where this siding stops, about right here, so I know to put the nails in this region. And then another one kind of down like this. And between that, this is solid. Time to cut this vertical trim piece, and the bottom of it needs to be cut to match the windowsill, which looks to be about 13 degrees. So what I do is I set my saw to 13 degrees. Here's our trim piece. Looks like we got that angle to match up perfectly. And nice fit up top. As it turns out, I'm gonna have to rip this piece lengthwise, so I made a mark here and a mark here. So this piece now fits like so. People say, Kent, how do you do nice long rips like that using a skill saw? I've been doing nice long rips for a while. Normally you use a table saw to do that sort of thing. This piece of redwood has been cut with a 13-degree slope on the bottom to match the sill, and it goes in here like so. Well, here's the bottom piece. It's somewhat of a special piece, 13 degree cut in the bottom, a little notching here. This will fit together like this. These two are flush. Here's the vertical piece. Okay, the way I'm going to nail this piece on, I'm going to go through and capture this part, and I think I will go through and catch a little bit of these too as I go down. I'm at the other side now. I got this piece nailed in, catching the shims and catching that edge. I have the gun set so the nails set just below the surface. Well, that's that. All of the carpentry is done, and that's nice. For filling the nail holes, I like to use Bondo instead of spackle. I just mix it up in the back of a knife. This is fancy stuff for cabinets, but Bondo works great too. I put about that much catalyst on. I work it into the nail holes in both directions. Just kind of keep moving. All the nail holes are spackled. I'm liking this caulking. It says it's 50 years, exterior, fast dry. I use a wet rag and a bucket of water to clean up my beads. Once I got a nice bead of caulk, I just use my finger and really work it in there. Try to get the caulk to go behind the piece, and then I work it the other direction. Then with my rag in hand, I can really push it in and, you know, clean up my finger a little bit as I go, so it's nice and clean again, see? And use the rag a little bit, and I just go about it like that, so it looks nice. Laying a bead of caulking along this bottom edge too. Here's an important note. I got the perimeter caulked, and it might seem silly, like why would we want to caulk here, especially with such a generous eave? It's because what happens is someone's going to take a garden hose and wash and aim right up into this area. And that will happen. So that's why we caulk that, and why we paint from this area over to here. I sand down the Bondo. The orbital sander takes it down in a hurry, and then dust off with a clean rag. Picks up the dust. I picked up some 123, which is a good primer for the job. It's okay to go over the edge. It's actually a good idea. Don't worry about getting it on the house here. It occurs to me that I could actually use the multi-tool with this blade. This actually works very well, without damaging the window, I might add. Okay, a little wipe down with a rag after sanding. I've got my primer, and I'm giving this a little priming. And that's the procedure with that, and I've got my rag, and I wipe the vinyl window clean. I take my pre-primed piece of quarter round, and that's going to fit in right here. I discovered a much better way to cut these. You just use the speed square as a guide. Get a perfect cut without even trying. These are dry fitted. It's good to dry fit them first. Looks nice. And they're going to be held in place with something like this. I saw this, so I grabbed it. It says, does it all, bonds, caulks, seals. And so just put a bead of this behind these, and that's how they will be attached. Switched over to painting on the outside to give the primer on the inside a little more time to dry, so we got a flat paint, and we're gonna put 2 coats of paint on here. So I kind of like to load this up like a paddle, and then I just roll it on so it doesn't drip everywhere. And pretty simple. I think I might just paint over to this edge. It will match nice when it's dry. And there'll be 2 coats of paint on here. The name of the game is to get the paint on here. I like to use the edge of the brush and just go down like that. If it doesn't cover completely the first time, that's okay. Here's how it looks with the first coat of paint on. It's going to get 1 more. Got a very nice cut, all done with the brush. Whoops, primer is not dry right here. So I'm not going to show you this part, but I'm just going to put some of this adhesive on the back here and then slip this in. And then it will be the same as we did outside, caulking, and then I'll paint this. So this is what the window looks like. It will be a maintenance-free window. It operates nicely. Latch is nice. And here's the window from the outside. I chose the Milgard Tuscany series window because it didn't have a flange and it would fit into the opening of this house. It was just good for this application. I'm just happy with how it looks and how I was able to make it look like it belongs in this house. Something else that occurred to me too, the crank out. I also like that the windows slide to open, whereas the other ones, the way the metal windows would crank out, I don't know how many times I'd walk into that metal edge. And so in addition to being a maintenance-free window, it's also, I think it's liability-free. Those other ones, I mean, for comparison, listen to that compared to what was in there before. Sort of rattling, single pane, you know, in the crank-out window, which I hit myself on that edge, which is actually a real physical pain. It's good to have the new windows put in. I think the property owner is going to be happy with this. This is Ben Kent at KJS Painting and Renovations, and this has been how I put in a window. I hope you found it helpful, or if you would like some help putting in a window, please give me a call.